Contemporary Cuisine Meets Country Culture by
Right.
David Kindle in the Mazatlan Messenger. So, Dave,
Yes.
I read that article and I thought it was really, really nice.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Had a lot of charm.
It was a great day.
It was a great day. So, let's share it. Tell us all about what inspired that article, how you came to write it.
Well, I was living next door for a while in Mazatlan to my good friend Roberto and his family, his wife and then 2 daughters. And actually since then, now there's a young baby boy in that family whose name is David.
Ah, all right. Well, what an honor.
Yeah, yeah. So Roberto at that time was working at a boatyard in Mazatlan, and he was the warehouse manager of the boatyard. And there were 3, I think, fellas that were painters and sanders that did work out in the yard itself. The boats were out on the hard. And these 3 guys lived out in the country, way, not way out, but like a 45-minute drive out. So Roberto, of course, became acquainted with his co-workers and those kinds of things. And in the meantime, Roberto is this amazing cook. I mean, he cooks things that you wouldn't believe. He actually had a business for a while where he actually made these gorditas, which are these flour and milk things that are they're flat and they're crispy. They're like a little snack. And he packaged them. He had a company, and he sold them to all of the convenience stores around Mazatlan. Wholesaled them to the convenience stores. And he did that for a while, and he did really well. And then for some reason, business fell off. But he's always been fond of cooking, and he prepares these really amazing dishes that you wouldn't think about. In fact, I told him about hummus one time. Went to some store and got hummus, and he'd never heard of hummus, and found out what it was and looked it up, and then he began making his own homemade hummus. Wow, and it was delicious. Roberto's he loves pizza, and he's been a great pizza maker for a long time. And because of his gordita business, he has he has an oven, which is like a pizza oven, gas-fired pizza oven, in his patio. And so he evidently was talking about pizza with his co-workers at the boatyard. And maybe he took him some pizza or something that he made, because he'd make one once in a while from scratch, totally from scratch. The boatyard guys decided that they would buy all of the ingredients, or reimburse him for the ingredients, and he would come out to the rancho, and he would show them how to make pizza. They made that date for one Sunday, and he asked me if I wanted to come along. And I thought, well, yeah, really, you have to ask. You don't have to ask me twice. I mean, if it has anything to do with what's going on in and about Mazatlan, and it's with local folks and looking at the countryside, certainly I want to go along. And of course, he knew that. So we all load up, and he loads up all this, all the makings. He's got the dough and the cheese, and he gets the sausage and whatever else. Oh, before that. He made, a couple of weeks before that, he had made lobster pizza. And it was the most delicious pizza I've ever had in my life. It was just amazing. I think I wrote in this piece that it might even have been better than sex. I don't know. But it was just...
You did.
At least for a few seconds I thought that.
You did, and I started laughing. I thought, okay.
The first savory bites, Message is he makes great pizza, right?
Yeah.
And we load up all this stuff, and we're heading out to the rancho, and we drive out to Villa Union, and we hang a right, and we go down these roads, and we call it a rancho, but it's really, maybe it's about a 2-acre parcel. And we're driving up on these dirt roads. We stop, on the way we stop at the Deposito, the Corona Deposito, and I get a 6-pack of beer or whatever, and I bring that, and he's got all this stuff. And we drive into the gate, and there are 2 houses on this property. One in the back, a smaller block house, and then there's one in the front where you drive in. And then there's this vast expanse of grass and a little bit of dirt, and there's a couple of big leafy trees that are shading parts of it. And there's probably three families living there. There's the patron, the old man who owns the whole place, and he and his wife are in back with another older couple. And then there are 3 younger families in the front house, and there are all these kids gathered around, and they're all excited, and Roberto, we're unloading all these ingredients, and on the front house, the kitchen is like outside. There's a tin roof over it, but it's all a concrete slab, and all the utensils are hanging on the outside wall, and there's a little place for a fire, and that whole drill. There's maybe a bucket, and the water is delivered to all these places with hoses. There's a hose bib in the center of this property, and there are all these hoses snaking all over with all these connections, because evidently there's a water system that delivers water to this property. But there's no plumbing really on the property, just hoses going everywhere. And so they unload all of these ingredients on this table. They bring out this big table, and we look around, and they've explained to Roberto that we have this big oven, which is where we're going to cook the pizza, and it's this traditional big, what do they call it, a concave oven, and it's 5 feet across, and it's 6 feet high, and it's a conical oven, and it's got the chimney, and it's pretty funky. I mean, it's old. It's really old, and it's crumbling, and there's no way to block it off. And Roberto looks at it, and he says, "Oh man, how am I going to get this thing hot enough to bake a pizza?" Because pizzas have to be, I don't know, 400 degrees, right? And so he starts orchestrating how this is going to happen, and the chimney has to be blocked off except for a little hole in the top. So the women go out and they put some water in the ground about 10 feet away, and they start mucking up this ground, and it's clay. And so they get up and they they block the top of the oven, the chimney, and then they just leave a little hole for the smoke. And then they go out and they forge some piece of metal, like, Spanish soldier breastplate or something, to cover up the opening. They clear it all out, and they figure they're going to build a fire in there and then spread the coals all around on the inside, and then they're going to slip the pizzas in the middle, right, to cook them. I'm thinking, oh, good luck. I'm having another beer. And so they're all in the process of prepping all this stuff, and they're bringing the dough out, and they're doing all this stuff, and Roberto sets all these folks up. Okay, this is how we're going to do it. And then we go visit the patron and his wife, and they're over there doing their thing, and it's really amazing, because there's these guys are probably 65, and they're sitting in lawn chairs. The guys are sitting in lawn chairs drinking a beer, and the women are at the outside fire pit, and they're making the tortillas, and they've got the wood fire on the metal grate, pressing them with the press, and they're making all this great food, and they've got all these wonderful ingredients they're putting in, and the guys are in the lawn chairs with their straw hats, and they're just having a great conversation, and my Spanish is just terrible. So Roberto and I sit down, and they start talking, and they ask me a couple questions, and I stand there and look like a dummy, But they're just these wonderful, amazing people. They're so, they're like all Mexicans, pretty much. They're so genuine, and they're so nice, and they're so giving, and they're so welcoming. I'm sure that there's never been a gringo on that property, ever. And probably hardly any of them ever get to that village or that town. And they're so nice, and they're of course asking questions about me and who am I, and Roberto's telling them, and I'm trying to interject a little bit of Spanish once in a while. And they're not laughing at me. They're not making fun of me because I don't understand or I can't communicate. They're just very genuine, and you can see that. You can look them in the eye, and you can just see how genuine they are, and it's really, really fantastic. And I'm sitting there, and of course I want to take photos, and I've got my video camera, and I've got my still camera, and I want to take photos of these women doing this. So I have my camera hanging in this case up on the sticks, over the palapa, and I get up and I go get my camera, and it's like, oh, the women are like this, and oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, and it's really interesting how I really offended them by wanting to take their picture. I guess I was way out of line. I'm a guest in their place, and here I am making them into these, photography subjects. It's silly of me, right? So I was able to backpedal out of that, okay. And I figured, okay, great. It's everywhere. Oh, they loved it, man. Take my picture. They would like, huh. And then I'd take their photo, and I'd show them on the back of the camera, the LED readout. I'd show them their picture, and they were just thrilled with that. That was so much fun. And I took a lot of great photos that day. And so we visit with the old folks. We go back to the other side of the compound, and the pizzas are kind of ready. They built a big fire. And so Roberto takes this first pizza and he puts it in the oven. He's got this funky pizza ladle, whatever they are. I made it look like I made it out of a shovel and a piece of plywood or something. I don't know. So he puts a piece in, they cover it up, and he's waiting, he's peeking, he's looking, and I'm drinking another beer. It's like, oh crap, you know. and lo and behold, the pizza comes out and it's perfect. It's just perfect. It's beautiful, and everybody's just in awe because they've never. I mean, they might have been at one time or another. They might have been into a pizza joint in Mazatlan, maybe. These kids, adults probably so, but at least the guys that work in town. But the wives and the kids, maybe not. And for them, it's like, whoa. Yeah. And plus, it's really delicious, and they're just so excited and so thrilled. With walking around, and I'm observing, and I'm taking photos. And once in a while, you'll see one of the kids just leaning against the post, just like watching me, eyeballing me. You know, like, what's this guy all about? What's this guy? And what I learned was that one of the men and his wife and I think daughter had come from the mountains near Durango, and they had left their home because they felt it was too dangerous because of the cartel activity.
Wow.
You know, and here we were just talking about Mexico being safe, right?
Yes.
But they had come from the mountains in Durango because they felt it was unsafe, and they had moved in with this family, cousins or whatever, and they had nothing. They had nothing. They had left their home where they had pretty much nothing, and they had arrived to stay at these gracious relatives, and they had nothing. The guy's clothing and the kids, it's just ragtag, you know. Kids, of course, barefoot running around. And he was looking for work, which not going to happen.
Right.
I mean, there's no way to get anywhere, no transportation, and they're surviving just on their wits and their guile, basically. And this big guy, he's breaking sticks to put in the fire, and he's a gentle, nice, kind human being. You can just see it in him, and his wife. They're so gentle and kind and nice, and they've been, you know, displaced by the ruthless folks. Really, really sad,
Right.
but yet going about their business and smiling a little bit. Roberto and I are drinking beer, and we're running out of beer, right? And I'm thinking, I think I need some more beer. I need some more beer, right? And so the guys volunteer to go down and pick up some beer at the deposit. So I give them some pesos, and they go off to get beer. And they come back, and all they can find are these big Bayenes, these giant beer bottles. That's all they had left at the deposito. So they bring back about 4 of those, or 5 of those. So I pop one, and well, okay, fine. And I give one to Roberto, and I say, well, what about the guys? You know, don't they want anything to drink, any beers? And he says, no, they don't drink. They don't drink. He says, maybe on a real festive day or a wedding or, you know, something, a really important fiesta, they'll have a beer or something, but they don't drink. There's these 3 guys, or 2 guys that work at the boatyard, and then their friend, who's this big, you know, they're all big, husky, young guys. You know, a little bit of growth, and they could tear me apart if they wanted to. And they're all these gentle guys who don't drink. They're just an amazing, amazing people. And to see them interact and to watch them and to have them be interested in me and me interested in them, it was really a really great, warming experience. And I know this is not new for a lot of people who live in Mazatlan. A lot of people who live in Mazatlan fully engage with the local folks, and they really appreciate them. And some, in varying degrees, do that as well. You know, some people. Go ahead.
How many pizzas did Roberto have to make to feed that crowd? And was there enough ingredients? Could he actually do it?
Oh yeah. I think he made like 14 pizzas that day. 14 pizzas, yeah, and they all looked great as far as I can tell. Oh yeah, it was absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Did he have to make them one at a time in that oven?
Oh yeah, one at a time.
One at a time.
Yeah, one at a time. But the kids and the kids and the women,
yeah.
You know, the moms, they were so excited and fully engaged in it that, I mean, hell, it didn't matter to them. They could have made, you know, 48 pizzas and they'd have been really happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great experience. Of course, I took a lot of photos, and I wrote this piece a while back in the Mazatlan Messenger, and I put I think the the publisher put a couple of different photos I'd taken in the messenger with the piece, and one of them was of the baño, and the baño was this classic country Mexican baño, and it was this cement slab in the middle of the compound, kind of, and it had a toilet in there, and the toilet was plumbed into something, I don't know what, maybe a septic system, a hole, or who knows where that went. So there was a toilet seat, you know, no tank, and then a bucket, and the hose, one of the hoses led in there, and I think you had a little on the hose where you could get water in the baño. And there might have been some kind of a funky bucket for a sink or something, and then there was I think it had maybe a corrugated metal roof that was hanging on some 4 posts, and just old tarps and cloth and stuff hung around the edge, and there was a cloth door. Open it and hung on a nail, and then when you shut it there was a cloth door, and you went in and you just did your business, and then got the hose and filled up the bucket and flushed the toilet that way. And if you wanted to wash your hands, you turned the hose on and did a little of this. And it looked so, it was so classic, because I took a picture of it with the little fabric door open, hanging on a nail, and you could look in there and you could see the commode in there with the hose going in. And it's just so very, very rustic. That is stereotypical. And that one picture is worth 1,000 words. It was a fantastic picture. But again, these people are in that environment, and these kids and these people are really happy. I mean, they are happy. They're just excited. They're giggling. They're laughing. And another thing about that particular day, which is interesting, is they wanted to show us the shrimp lagoon. The guy said, "We got to go look at the shrimp lagoon." So okay, so we go. I've been to the lagoon. This is on the other side, and we go to the lagoon. We all pile in and we drive over there in 2 cars, and there are all these little pongas lined up on the edge of the lagoon, and there's a little shack there that maybe on some days is a place you can get food or something, and then there's no bathrooms or anything. I had to go down around the bushes behind a tree on the other side of the road, and so all the kids, of course, are with us. And then there's these funky little boats, and so there's nobody attending any of this stuff. And there must have been 20 boats all pulled up along the lagoon. They had to belong to somebody. And the guys and some of the kids, they just got in some boats and they pushed off and they floated around and they almost tipped over, and they were all laughing and screaming and having fun. And some of the guys got some shrimp nets from somewhere and they were practicing their shrimp net throws. Roberto grabbed a net and he went out in the water and he was trying to practice his shrimp net throw, which is not easy, I don't think. I didn't do it. It was like, no thanks. And he's out there fumbling around with his net, and the kids are all running around. They're in the water, splashing. They're all muddy and dirty, and they're happy. And I'm thinking, wow, I can't imagine. I'm trying to imagine my grandkids in that position going, ew. You know?
It would be really nice if we could find some balance in the difference between owning things and finding our place in nature.
Right. I hope Mexico can achieve that, because Mexico is definitely going the way of the United States. Burger King and there's McDonald's, and there are all these big giant stores, and Sam's Club and Costco's going in and all that kind of stuff. And you go in, and Home Depot in Mazatlan. You go into Home Depot in Mazatlan in October, and there's a huge section dedicated to Christmas decorations and lights and trees and all that stuff, and it's like, oh my God, you know. And I asked my friend Roberto, it's so funny, Halloween's a big deal in Mazatlan, and I said, what's all this Halloween stuff? Isn't that a gringo thing? And he said, yeah, it is. You know, they have the Day of the Dead, which is a whole different thing. What's all this Halloween stuff? And he says, yeah, it's a gringo thing. He says, but Mexicans, he says, we're monkey see, monkey do. And they are, to a lot of degree, and that's sad, because we're importing all of our the craziness of our culture, we're importing all around the world, and I don't think that's real healthy. I'd like to see, you know, it'd be nice if more and more of us could be happy with, you know, basic stuff. And it's really, and one of the other things that I observed on that little trip out there to the rancho was that across the street, there was this, across the dirt road, barbed wire fences with the tree limb posts and everything, there was another lot, like I think they said it was maybe equivalent of about a 1-acre lot or a 2-acre lot, and there was this old brick rundown house, you know, kind of a shell of a house. And evidently we found out it was for sale for something that would equate to like $2,000 US, right? And I looked at that and I thought, oh my God, you could buy that place and have a nice little retreat out in the country. And it was really tempting. And I think I closed this piece with the imagery, driving away. We were all loading up finally, and everybody's been laughing and talking, and we're driving away. And I'm looking at this place across the street out the car window, and I'm thinking, boy, you know, whoever buys that, they're going to have some really great neighbors. You know, they're going to have some really. And I could never, ever in my wildest dreams wish for better neighbors than those people right there. I don't care where on the planet you live, whether it's Eureka or Tiburon or Sacramento or San Diego. Yeah, an amazing experience.
Thank you, David, once again.
No, thank
for
you.
an amazing experience.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.